welcome to our planning webinar for the Off February campaign. We really appreciate your interest in this effort, and we hope today's webinar will inspire you to help spread the message about the campaign throughout your neighborhood, your community, your town, your school, and the wider world. I'm Doug Wood. I'm the National Director of Americans for Responsible Technology, and today we're going to hear from the creator of the OFF campaign, Diego Hidalgo, about the philosophy behind the campaign and the origins of the Off February effort. When Kate Keel from Safe Tech International first told me about the Off February campaign, I was immediately struck by the beauty and the simplicity of the idea, as well as the desperate need to do something about the pernicious influence of social media on our families, especially our kids, and society at large. So today, you're going to hear from Diego, and then I will share some ideas for promoting the campaign in your circles of influence. I want to thank our event co-sponsors for today's webinar, Safe Tech International and Smartphone Free Childhood. Thank you both for helping to promote this planning webinar. It's really important that we get the word out to as many people as we can. It's my pleasure now to introduce Mr. Diego Hidalgo. Diego has spent the last 2 decades working on the relationship between humanity and digital technology. He's the author of Humanity Under the Empire of Technology, published in 2021, and Retaking Control, 50 Thoughts on Our Digital Future, published in 2024. Diego is a visionary. He's the developer and promoter of the OFF movement, which is a worldwide initiative supported by hundreds of prominent figures from various fields, which highlights the critical point humanity is reaching in its relationship with digital technology and proposes a set of measures to regain control. Diego has multiple degrees. He has founded several very successful companies. He speaks 6 languages, and if that's not enough, he's also a magician. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my extreme pleasure to introduce my friend, Diego Hidalgo.
Thank you so much, Doug, for these very kind words and this introduction about OFF. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you both to Americans for Responsible Technology and the co-hosts, Safe Tech International and Smartphone Free Childhood US. Really, I mean, one of the great aspects of this Off February campaign, which I'll tell you more about later, is to build those bridges with fantastic organizations all across the world, and also, you know, meet other humans here and there with very aligned views about technology and what we should do in order to regain control. So Doug has spoken about the OFF movement and a little bit about what I've done before. I should just say that, you know, I've been interested myself in the impact of technology on human beings since I was myself a teenager. I'm now 42, so it's been quite a long time. I suppose that from a relatively young age, I had this intuition that technology was going to change radically the way we relate to each other, and not always in the best way. So this led me to you know, write one of the first academic pieces on social media back in 2007, and later on write the books that Doug mentioned. But and also give a lot of talks and conferences about these subjects. But to some extent, I realized that this was not enough. Often, when you know, write books, articles, conferences, it's great to preach the convinced, but often that's what you do. And I felt that we needed to really make this action more collective and find ways to reach more people and create effective change in people's lives and in the way they relate to technology. If you are here today, you probably are aware of you know, why we should do something. So I'm not going to spend a vast amount of time speaking about the reasons for which we should take action, I should just maybe mention that we're in probably what's the biggest wave of mental health problems all across the world. There's been a huge rise of anxiety, depressions, eating disorders, loneliness, etc. in the past 15 to 20 years. And I think when I started asking myself these questions about, how technology impacted human beings 20 or 25 years ago, there was still not a lot of evidence about whether digital technology, was rather uniting us or harming the social capital and the social fabric and social relations. Unfortunately, now we have, I would say, a vast amount of academic, scientific evidence about the fact that it's actually being very detrimental, that at least hyperconnection and the way technology is now is being very detrimental to social relations in general. So I would say that was the basis. This diagnosis was the basis for the starting the OFF movement, which started with the OFF manifesto, which we launched in February of 2024, so a couple of years ago. That was the beginning of OFF, and I'll let you all have a look on our website. Anybody can join the OFF, can sign the OFF manifesto, which really sends an alert, as Doc says, on the type of technology that's currently being deployed, predominantly deployed, which is really designed to exploit human vulnerabilities. And that was the sort of basis for writing the OFF manifesto, which has now been signed by hundreds of personalities worldwide from a very broad range of disciplines. We have philosophers, scientists, education specialists, a lot of health professionals, but also artists, CEOs. And what we wanted to share, to emphasize with the OFF manifesto and these signatories, is the fact that it's not a revolutionary or extremely radical take to defend the fact that we should really take action and find some really deep and ambitious solutions to change our relationship to technology, and probably change a part of the way technology is being designed today. So what is the OFF movement, which has this manifesto as a basis? What we try to do at OFF is to identify facets of our existence in which we consider that there's a particular gap between the way technology is being conceived and deployed and human interests, and in which we are able to find leverages of effective change. Our first initiative, launched a little over a year ago, was about EdTech. It's called the OFF EdTech Initiative in English. EdTech, I'm sure you're all know about EdTech, but it's really a field in which we have increasing evidence of the fact that it is that digitizing classrooms, schoolwork, and education altogether is both detrimental to children and students' well-being, especially psychological well-being, but also it doesn't really improve learning. And so it's really absurd to have education systems all around the world that are investing massively in such technologies instead of investing in other much more useful and not harmful things, such as teachers and humans. And we would expect schools to be part of the solution and not part of the problem, as it is increasingly being the case. So that was our OFF EdTech initiative, which was met with some success. We launched it from Spain, and we had some parts of Spain already in this very short period of time already de-digitizing There's schools such as in the community of Madrid, which is the most with the region of Spain with the biggest population, and they basically pretty much got rid of EdTech, at least in primary schools now. So this served as an example for other organizations in other countries to see that it is actually possible to take action and have some success in that sense. But I'm here today to talk more in depth about our latest initiative and our upcoming initiative, which is called Off February. So I'm sure that a lot of you here know about Dry January, which is this initiative that started in the UK 13 or 14 years ago that incites people to not drink alcohol for 1 month. We always thought we should probably try to do the same, but in the digital field, try to find some way of inciting people to be digitally sober in some way for 1 month. And this is really the basis for Off February. But we thought, if you ask people today to drop their smartphones for 1 month, it's going to be very difficult that they do so unless they have a dumb phone like me, which I'm trying to find, but I don't even have it here. It's very hard. It's too intertwined with people's lives, and it's too high of a barrier for it to probably work from the beginning. So we decided to specifically focus on one element, which I think that now no people almost in the world don't know that there's a problem about, which is social media. And the basic idea about Off February is that almost any alternative to the time you spend on social media is basically more, positive for yourself. If you think of all the activities that have been massively cannibalized by social media in the past 15 years, which have to do with physical activity, sociability, and any cultural activity such as reading or even sleep, all these activities are actually positively correlated to your well-being. Whereas we know now that social media are massively correlated with a deterioration of your well-being. And that's, I think, something that more and more people are aware of. But the paradox, or one of the many paradoxes I think we're facing, is that even though more and more, especially young people, are aware of this and are really willing for a change, this is not enough, and they're actually failing to change individually. This is why we are convinced that we must launch and push for collective solutions. And I also think that we need solutions that need to be global, because we're facing a global problem with global companies and giants that are extremely powerful, but that they also must be very much rooted into local territories. And this is, I think, these are parts of the DNA of the Off February campaign. So what is Off February exactly? I'll just go directly to this slide. It's based on a challenge, which is very simple, and it consists in deleting your social media apps from your tablet or smartphone for 28 days. So we're not asking people to close down their accounts. We're not even asking them to stop completely using their social media. We just want to break this bridge to an unintentional and compulsive use of platforms, which, depending on the countries and on the age ranges, are basically stealing in the range of many dozens of hours of people's time every month. This is a presentation actually that was initially done for the UK, in which some very conservative. We really chose some very conservative data and it's probably actually much more. Uh, but here it says that people spend on average 1 hour and 49 minutes per day on social media. Doug actually will might show you some posters he's done, and we had a little debate in the past few days because he was actually showing even much more depressing, I would say, data about teenagers in the US spending more in the range of 4 hours, I think it was a day. So anyway, even if you take this, hour and 49 minutes a day, that's roughly 54 or 55 hours per month. And the first cost that this has for people is a cost of opportunity. It's, as I said before, time they don't spend reading, they don't spend sleeping, exercising, or with their loved ones. So I would say this is really the basis for the campaign. It's based on that simple challenge that everybody can understand, and it's collective because, of course, one of the main sort of mechanisms that social media platforms use to keep people hooked is FOMO, is the fact that you want to see what other people are doing, etc. So it's really important to all do this, I think, at the same time, and give people at the same time this taste of what it's like to regain this time and being able to reinvest it in those other alternatives. I should now emphasize the fact that, in order to really have some impact, we really believe that it's important um, to really send a positive message. So off February is not about telling people that they're really dumb because they spend all that time using social media. Also because it's really not their fault. It's not about punishing people. It's about really celebrating this time that people can really regain and invest in much more interesting and positive things for themselves. Now, how are we going to spread off February? Um, I would say, before going into some details, that one of the main things we've worked on in the past few months is creating this network of organizations worldwide, which are aligned with everything I've said so far, and which have joined with great enthusiasm and efforts this campaign, and that will be the main sort of pillars that will enable spreading it in each country. We have partners. Even though OFF is a very small organization right now, but we are very lucky to count on fantastic partners in the US, in the UK, in France, in Spain. These are, I would say, the four countries in which so far we have more partners, but we have, some in Australia, Kenya, Poland, and a number of other countries. But I will get into some more details about how we sort of aim to promote and complement of February. I will start with the right-hand corner, which we call off allies or off venues. And these are, by the way, all things that if you, as individuals or organizations interested in promoting off February, want to help us on or with, this will be fantastic. And of course, will be available to give you some details on how to convince other people or organizing any of these things. So I'll start with this right-hand corner of allies. As I said, we think it's really important to give off February a local dimension. And one of the ways we want to do this is by partnering with restaurants, bars, bookshops, pretty much any place that's open to the public, sports places, cultural venues. And the nature of the agreement consists in them basically putting up a off February sticker on their window display or at their entrance, and communicating by any means they have about off February. of course, depending on the nature of the venue, whether they have digital means to get to people, newsletters, etc., or just physically at their place. Um, and ideally, although we don't set this as an absolute condition, we ask them to consider setting a moment during the week, at least a moment during the week, in which people are asked not to use their smartphone inside. But again, especially for this first edition, we want to keep the barriers rather low to ensure that as many places join the effort. So that was the first part. The second part, and I'll switch, sorry for this weird order, but I'll go to the lower left corner, is an action that we aim to organize in as many cities as possible or places as possible in the world, called Walk Instead of Scroll. It's a 5.04 kilometer mass walk, which I think is about 3.40 something miles. And why this weird number? That's I'll still talk in meters. People scroll on their smartphones for about an average of 180 meters a day on their screen. And if you multiply this by 28 days in February, that's 5.04. And the message we want to send is that we're going to collectively, instead of just scrolling, which normally is done alone and without moving in a sedentary way, we're going to be together in movement without any digital interference and just walk. And also as to emphasize the collective sort of action, and hopefully also as a way to attract media attention at a local level as well. So if any of you, wherever you are, either want to join, if there's an existing Walk Instead of Scroll little committee, or if you want to just start one, that is a great option to also promote off February. It doesn't have to be massive. Of course, it's great if there's hundreds or thousands of people, and we hope to do this in some cities. But the other day, a lady from Belgium, I think, wrote to us saying, "Well, it's my birthday on February," because this is going to be, on February 7th. If it's on another date, of course, we're happy. We're more happy if there's hundreds of walk instead of scrolls around the world at different dates. But the idea is, if we can do it all together on Saturday, February 7th, that's even better. So that lady in Belgium was saying it's my birthday that day. And I will actually tell my friends that instead of doing a party, we'll do a walk instead of scroll. That's the sort of, low scale option that's totally available. Then I'll go quite fast on the Off Festival, which is something that's going to be organized in Madrid this year. And I suspect that many of you won't be traveling to Spain. So I'm not going to speak extensively about this, but the idea is to do a 1 month festival, which might be decentralized in further editions, and take place even in different cities. But the idea is to really talk about these subjects, not only from an intellectual point of view, but from a cultural, educational, fun, artistic way. So we're organizing, talks in major cultural institutions in Madrid this year, but also a concert, for example, by this artist called Tim Arnold. He's a British musician who has done this. I mean, his last album is called Super Connected, and he's also shot a 1 hour and 15-minute movie. So the show, which you can only see live and not in streaming or through the internet, is basically the film and a live concert at the same time. So that's the sort of thing we are going to be doing at the Off Festival. And fourthly, there's what we call the Off Barometer. We're actually going to probably rename this the Off February Barometer, because we're going to do other barometers. So this is an impact study about what happens in people's minds, in people's habits, in people's well-being when they participate in Off February. And it's going to be based on a survey that will be sent to the people, especially to the people who sign up on our website at our February. That's why it's great to have as many people as possible that sign up, because we only know that a portion will then participate in the study. And we basically want to make of February a subject of scientific and academic study. So we're working with doctors and psychologists to finalize this off barometer. I think I've given you a pretty sort of comprehensive overview of February, and I'm looking forward to hearing about Doug and his ideas to sort of spread it locally. Because that's what it's really about. It's really about partners really joining the effort, and we're so happy and privileged to have such great partners. We This is actually incomplete, but this shows you a bit about the partners that we have in several countries right now. We have this year, we only started really working on this maybe 4 months ago, so it's been all very quick. We have also medical societies, the Spanish Pediatric Society, for example, and other medical and scientific societies. And I think the list it will grow, and hopefully we'll have more also in other countries. So thank you so much, and I hope it was clear. And I'm looking forward to listening to Doug and to answering any questions afterwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Diego, for your inspiring work and your leadership and the whole package that you've put together here with the OFF campaign. I think it's really, really terrific. We're going to do our best here in the United States to raise awareness of the OFF February campaign, and that's why I'm here today to talk about how we can all get together and do that. So, like any social movement, promoting the Off February campaign will be much easier if we're part of a group. So, the first thing you want to do is to talk to some of the people in your circle of friends who you think might be open to the Off February campaign idea and who think it might be a good idea to take a break from social media. Have you heard about the Off February campaign? Is a good way to get the conversation started, just right up front. Have you heard about this? Because the people that I've talked to have all been interested when I start the conversation that way. So that's a good way to get started. As we talk about the campaign, we want to stress the three pillars that it's based on. It's non-commercial. There is nobody that's making any money from this. This is not a profit-making venture. We are all volunteering our time and energy on this campaign, as you all will be. So that's very important. It's nonpartisan in this age of hyper politics where everything seems to be measured in terms of one side winning and one side losing. This is a situation in which everybody wins. Except if you're, Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg. I understand that, they don't see this as a win-win. Um, but we do. And best of all, it's free. This doesn't cost anybody anything. There's no cost to stepping back from social media for 28 days. We have a lot of potential partners in this effort. Certainly, we know there are parents who are worried about their kids. I'm going to bet that the number of parents who wish their kids spent more time on social media is probably close to zero. And we know that the tech giants make some effort to keep their kids away from technology. We've known that for a while. Why not us? What do they know that we should know? So again, we have a number of partners in here, and we're going to talk about that. Speaking of kids, the first place we might want to think about implementing the Off February campaign is at school, especially junior and senior high schools where the influence of social media is the most apparent. Now, there are a few groups of people at schools who have a vested interest in the well-being of students and who might be willing to help spread the word about Off February. There's the superintendent, the members of the Board of Education, the school principal, the guidance counselors, the leaders of the Parent Teachers Association, or whatever it's called in your school, and even the teachers union. You might go to the superintendent first because the others may point to the superintendent and say, well, we're not authorized. So you might start there. Just ask for a 10-minute meeting, and pitch the idea of getting the school behind the Off February campaign, and maybe print out this poster, which I'll show you in a little more detail in a minute. This poster that we designed for high school students, and ask if the school might consider printing and putting up these posters around the school. Speaking of these posters, here's a closer look with some of the things that kids could do with their time off instead of scrolling. The 140 hours, by the way, Diego and I had little bit of discussion about that. That's based on data from the American Psychological Association, which estimates that American teens are spending about 5 hours a day on social media. So you multiply 5 hours a day times the 28 days in a month, and that's how we get to 140 hours. We like this poster, but another idea is to ask the school's art teacher to maybe commission some posters from students promoting the idea of breaking free from social media for 1 month. Kids get it. They know what the situation is. And if they get involved, it would be great peer-to-peer advertising if the kids themselves would do posters, and I'm sure the art teachers would get behind it themselves. Let's get the students involved in promoting the idea of Off February. The next place we thought about going is the public library. Now, most libraries have figured out how to use social media for their own promotion. Social media allows libraries to, promote their events and maintain contact with their patrons. But I know librarians. My mom was a children's librarian for many years here in our town. And I know that librarians love books, actual books, the way a book feels in your hands. It's different from an electronic screen. And I have a hunch that every professional librarian secretly harbors the wish that kids would get off their phones and discover the pure pleasure of sitting down with a book and getting lost in it, undisturbed by the lure of social media. So I think these are natural partners for the Off February campaign. And again, we've developed this poster for libraries, and I recommend that you maybe make an appointment with the library director and see if they would be willing to support the Off February campaign by placing these posters at various places around the library and promoting the whole campaign in their outreach. I think libraries are natural partners for the Off February campaign. Churches, synagogues, mosques are all in the same boat as libraries. Yes, they figured out how to use social media to work for them. They don't really have a choice here. But I imagine that every serious religious leader laments the breakdown of our family relationships that in many cases can be traced back to the rising influence of social media. Why not reach out to your local pastor, your priest, your rabbi, your imam, or other leader and ask about their help in promoting the Off February campaign? Maybe they can even talk about it in their weekly messages. That would be fun. Again, we've developed a poster for religious organizations that talks in general terms about how social media steals valuable family time and how that can impact families and relationships. So again, you might take this poster, print out a copy of this poster, and take it to your religious leader and see if they will consider helping. We've also developed two more generic posters that can be used for other situations. I love this one on the left with the stick figures. Finally he had it up to here with social media and his phone. Um, but these are great for other institutions like your local coffee shop or lunch spot or any other place where people meet and talk. All these posters are up right now on the art website, and right now they are sized at 18 by 24 inches, but any copy store can either reduce them to 8.5 by 11 or blow them up to 24 by 36, depending on what you want to do with them and if you have any budget to pay for printing. Once you find a willing campaign partner or two, it's time to go to the media. This is a good news story, something that broadcast and print professionals will be interested in. Again, have you heard about the Off February campaign? Is your hook in pitching this story as if they should have heard about it? And be ready with names and phone numbers for the media to contact for quotes or interviews, and show them the campaign posters. Television reporters especially want visuals that they can use in their story. For more background on the campaign, you can refer them to the Off February website, and maybe even to Diego, depending on his availability and the size of the media that you're talking to. For the moment, you can find the posters at our website, and I've put the link down there at the bottom. It's americansforresponsibletech.org/off-February. Sorry for all the typing. We should get a shorter URL one of these days. Um, but you can download them here and print them out and get them out there. And again, I want to especially thank our co-sponsors for this webinar, Kate Keogh at Safe Tech International. Thank you, Kate, for introducing me to Diego and getting the ball rolling here. And also Laura Derendinger at Smartphone Free Childhood for your support. We really appreciate your support. So those are some ideas for how to promote the OFF campaign in your community. And now I'm going to bring Diego back, and we will attempt to answer your questions and do our best to address some of the comments that you've been putting in the chat. Diego?
Thank you so much, Doug. These are really great ideas, and thank you really for all the work you've done and for this shared enthusiasm. If I can speak for just 1 minute, because I realized I've missed, I would say, 4 or 5 key points. One of them is that it's still time, but you don't have much time, but it's still time if you run an organization to join as a partner. You can contact the following email, which you might share, Doug, but it's contact@offm.org. And we'll send you we have a very short 2-page agreement that partners are asked to sign. We also have a separate, much shorter document which is just a commitment for venues. We're not very strict on the venues because some of them tell us, we just don't want to sign anything. We'll just put the sticker on. But it's good to know, and they will be listed on our website if they sign this commitment, this very simple commitment. The second point is that we have a communication package for partners that we will share probably by the end of this week, which will include banners for social media, which we think is something essential. It's something that we'll post the address on the chat and also send some redirects that we've set up in different languages. So the communication package will include these banners, which basically say, something like, I forgot the exact English copy, but it's something like, you will not see us much around here during this month because we're taking the Off February challenge. And there will be also a motion picture, a short sort of 1-minute video and posters. The third point is that although we know that teenagers have a massive problem with social media, probably more than anybody, and that they're suffering more than anyone about hyperconnection, Off February is being designed more to target adults rather than children. One of the reasons is that we at Off defend a ban on social media for under 18s, and we think there's massive, evidence that can sustain our position. And so we think that sometimes if we target specifically and as a primary target children or teenagers, this is going to participate in normalizing the fact that they spend so much time on social media. Having said that, we're not, blind, and we know that it's a massive problem. So this is why I think that Doug's ideas are great to spread. Of course, it's better that they participate in Off February rather than just keep on spending 5 hours a day on social media. But we also, to finish this point, we refuse to just say, oh, it's those teenagers that just spend so much time on social media. Whereas as Emily Churkin, a US consultant on these themes and author, says it's basically the kids' problem with technology is an adult's problem that we've sort of given them. It's not a kid's problem per se. And the final point I wanted to mention is that although we want to keep the message simple and focus on social media, the sort of secondary message is that people are also invited to delete any app that they consider is stealing more time away from them than the value is bringing them. So, for some people, it's going to be games, but for others, it might be, financial, like stock market information that they sort of, update 45 times a day, etc. So these was the little extras I wanted to add.
Cool. Diego, we had somebody asked about the sign, the sticker for the venues. Do you have that handy? Can you pull that up on your screen and show us what that looks like?
Yes, I will find it in just a moment. We have it in three languages for the moment, in English, Spanish, and French. And I will show you this in just 2 seconds. I'm just going to share my screen. Um, Here we go. I'll just maybe show you directly the one in English. So it's based on the sort of aesthetics of a sort of exit sign, as you will see. That's for venues, and we will have to be so in as I said, it's a campaign that we just prepared in a few months, and it's a global campaign that we've pushed with great partners, but the executive team is just very small. So we're not going to have to be able to logistically send those stickers everywhere. So ideally, it's great if you can just print them as stickers wherever you are, and just give them to those places, or maybe they can just print them themselves. I'm thinking specifically of US organizations here. If there are some in France or Spain, for instance, they can contact us and we can send them to them.
Got it. There's also a question about YouTube, and I had that question myself. Is YouTube do you consider YouTube social media? I mean, I think they're trying to be. Are they there yet?
Yeah, well, I think there's like we could look at this from a sort of very sort of rigorous point of view, and talk about it for a long time. I think it's true that we have to be a bit like clear about what we mean by social media. The question I get asked the most is about WhatsApp,
Hmm.
which we will. I'm not on WhatsApp myself, and as I've said, I don't even have a smartphone myself. But and I do think that WhatsApp is a huge problem in terms of hyper connecting people. However, it would just set such a barrier to entry for many people that sometimes at the first time they ask me, oh, but is WhatsApp, as in like if WhatsApp is considered social media, I just cannot do this. Um, and also, it's primarily used as an app rather than a. Of course, you can use WhatsApp from like a desktop, but most people don't. Um, I would, of course, encourage people to delete their YouTube app, but I think really the primary focus here is really TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, and really like pure social media.
Yeah. I guess what you said before about any app that steals more time than the value you get out of it, and it's going to kind of have to be up to each individual to decide what those things are that they're going to remove from their phone. Um,
Yeah, well, we have to sort of, set the rules, because we trying to I don't know if I like the word gamify, because often it's gamification is used by industry to hook us as much as possible. But I think we have to make it sort of, we have to set the rules. So all these questions are very are very relevant. Having said that, yeah, as you said, we also have to give room for people to just set their own rules. Um, and going back to the sticker, because I see there's a question about the sticker. So we will. So the campaign, this is this webinar, for instance, is really aimed more not at the broad public, but as at people who might be interested in spreading the campaign, whether as experts, an individual, or as organizations. The
Mhm.
campaign itself will launch next week on the 14th of January. And we will send partners the package with the stickers, with the videos and everything I mentioned earlier, the banners, etc. Probably by the end of this week. And we will also make them available on our website in a couple of days.
Excellent. Somebody had a question about more. Can we have more information about the walks? Um, oh, never mind. She said she found it. Good for you,
Okay.
Adrian. Adrian found it. So yeah, I mean, I think the walks is a really interesting idea. Although, as my friend Cece Doucette pointed out, February is kind of a tough time for a walk in the northeast of the United States. Maybe in the Southwest or California, you'd have better luck with it out there. Here, it's a little difficult. So, we'll have to think of clever ways to address that. But certainly for those of you who are in warm climates, getting together on February 7th for a walk in partnership with other organizations around the world. Again, a great media event, and we really are going to need the media to help promote this idea. So don't be shy. Just call up the local TV station and say, I've got a story that you really ought to be. Have you heard about the Off February movement? And we're doing this walk and get them to come down and bug them until they come down with their cameras and take, because once they do and it goes on TV and more people find out about it, it's an idea I think that will catch on um, with a lot of people.
Exactly.
Sheila, go ahead,
Sorry. No,
Diego.
I should just stress that, we really have maybe two things. First of all, because you're speaking of media, so, we're very young as an organization. We only started, off only started really as a movement a year and a half ago. But I think one of the things we've managed to do in Spain more than anywhere else before going more global is really gaining a lot of media attention with very few resources. So, for example, one of the things we did last June was to organize demonstrations in 12 cities of Spain simultaneously to defend the right to disconnect. And the subtitle was "Let's Protect Minors' Health." It was backed by about 15 to 20 organizations, including the major medical societies. And we had five demands, including a ban on social media for under 18s, setting a legal age to access smartphones, etc. And we really had we made it was a very, very, very low cost action that it was planned in just 5 weeks by a team of two, including myself. And we, for 3 days, really the media spoke all the time about this. We opened national news, all TV channels, literally all major TV channels were present. So that's encouraging. And here we hope to some extent that we'll be able to sort of, trigger the same similar dynamic, but globally, or at least in as many countries as possible.
Yeah.
I think I had a second point, but I forgot it.
Okay, well, while you're thinking about that, my friend Sheila asked about whether she has to stop her desktop use of Facebook. And I think, Diego, what we're talking about really is people's smartphones and the fact that it's in their hand at all times. We're not asking people to disassociate themselves completely from those apps on their hardware, especially their hardwired computers. Is that right?
That's totally right. Yeah, exactly. We're really telling people we want to kill, as I said, that bridge to a constant, impulsive, non-intentional use of social media. that I think the problem is really like when it went mobile. I mean, there were probably some intrinsic problems of social media platforms prior to them becoming mobile, and of course they already implemented a lot of addictive mechanisms and which are increasingly sophisticated. But it's really the fact that people are on public transport. Well, sometimes they're even driving and hooked to their social media, which is actually a big source of accidents right now. The idea is that if you were able to use, if these platforms could be used as tools to interact and find people, etc. There would probably not being now having this webinar or organizing the Off February campaign. I mean, of course, if you at a personal level realize that you spend 6 hours a day on your social media on your desktop, then you might want to extend the challenge to not using social media at all. But yeah, basically the easy and the simple answer is no. This is really sort of based on deleting the app.
Yeah. And we've had a couple of questions about joining on as a partner, and also we had a question about a press release. I thought about the press release, but we just barely got the posters done in time. I think the press release is important, and I'll be working with Diego to get as we craft a press release for the American press on this, because I think that's a good idea to give you something that you can give to them. As far as becoming partners, we will put the partnership link up on our website, but it's also up on Diego's website, which is
The partnership
I'm
document.
sorry. I'm sorry. You wanted people to email you. Is that right?
Yeah, I think, well, yeah, it's just that we don't want to, because we already have so many things on the page, and this is more like, so to speak, like B2B. It's, of course, it's like totally non-profit, but it's my point is like this is for organizations. I'd rather we'll make this more sophisticated for further editions, but I think the best is if you email contact. I'll just put it on the chat right now. And by the way, to avoid long URLs, even though our URL is just a four-letter, it's offm.org. But we've also created redirects. So, for example, you can go directly to off-february.com, and that will go directly to the English Off February page. And we have other .orgs and everything for other languages. So I'll just put I'll write it down right now, not to forget. This is the contact at off.offm.org. M stands as in, was initially manifesto, off manifesto, and now off movement. And please email us about it. I don't know if was there another question about the partnerships?
Where to get more information about the walks? That was another question.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, by the way, just about the partnerships, I was going to say one of the few which I suspect will not concern many people here today, but in general, one of the limits is that we don't want to partner with any organization that's either affiliated or funded by the tech industry.
Mhm.
And not even all if it were funded by, I don't know, a cybersecurity company or any, but at least not by, big tech platforms, because often you see a lot of conferences, initiatives, etc., that look at first sight might look good and positive, and in fact you realize that it's really all the opposite. So we want to really keep our independence and credibility. Yeah, the walks instead of scrolls. That was the previous question. Was there a specific question that was left about this, or I think the lady who was asking the question found the information?
Yeah, people are finding the information. Again, the posters are available at the art website right now. Eventually, they will be part of the communications package, I think. But right,
Exactly. We'll also share them on our website in a couple of days. We're just waiting basically for the sort of motion picture video in all languages and so on. Yeah, I was going to say about media, sorry, about the media. Of course, it would be fantastic if we could do a press release in the US because of our current bandwidth. And again, I hope this will, change next year and that we'll do things in a more sort of globally professional way. But we are doing press conferences in France on the 22nd of January, where we have Professor Amin Benyamina, who's the president of the French Federation of Addictology, who's one of the ambassadors for Off February in France. He was the co-president of the President's Commission on the impact of screens and digital technology on minors, together with a neurologist called Servan Mouton, who's also a Off February ambassador. So we're doing a press conference on the 22nd of January in Paris. We're doing a press conference in Madrid on the 27th of January in a major Madrid cultural institution called La Casa Encendida, in which the director will speak. We also have Mar España, who's the former data protection agency head until last year, and also the president of the Spanish Society of Adolescent Medicine. So we're, unfortunately now because of our bandwidth, we can't do this in of course, I would have dreamt to do this in other countries, especially in the UK and in the US. And I hope that next year we can find a way to also work with hopefully as many of you and your organizations as possible to sort of really scale this a lot. And I think we have to remember that Off February 2026 is really an objective per se, but it's also a way to prepare for the next edition. We suspect that the problem will not be entirely solved in the next 12 months, the problem of humans and social media. So unfortunately, I could say I think there will be a 2027 edition and many more.
Well, we certainly hope so, and we're going to do our best to make it, to really promote this campaign here in the United States. I can tell by the reactions of the people that are typing here in the chat that people are really happy to have something to do about this because I think everybody has realized the problem for a long time. We've been watching it grow, and we feel somewhat helpless because people are so used to having that device in their hand, and it's even gotten to the point where you're talking to someone and they just start scrolling because it's not considered rude anymore to scroll through your social media apps while somebody's talking to you. It's amazing how we've come to that point. So
Absolutely. If I think we're about to end, I was just going to give us a sort of final remark on my end.
please. Yep.
I was going to talk to you about to mention a study by the University of Chicago, which was published a couple of years ago, which was very interesting, which focused specifically on TikTok and Instagram, and they asked people how much they would have to be paid or pay to leave social media. And in the case of Instagram, I think it was around $59 a month. So people said, okay, I'm okay to leave. No, that was for TikTok. I'm okay to leave TikTok if I'm paid $59 a month on average. I think for Instagram it was $32. And if we rephrase the question, and if we said, what about an collective, leaving collectively social media? What if everyone did? And there people were ready to pay out of their own pocket on average $12 a month for Instagram and $27 for TikTok. So I think this study really emphasizes one of the reasons why we're doing Off February, is that there's actually, of course, this was an experimental study, and you can't pay $12 a month for Instagram not to exist anymore. And the closest thing we found is something like off February. And I think there's basically a real demand for this type of change.
So great. That's gonna do it for our program today. I first want to thank Diego for his idea and for being part of our program today and for his inspiration to really change the world. I want to thank our tech person, Beth Florio, who's behind the scenes today, pushing the right buttons to make things happen the right way. Thank you all for being part of our program today. We really appreciate it. Now go out there and make it happen. Let us know how you're doing. Stay in touch. Have a good rest of the day. Thanks. Bye
Thank
now.
you so much. Thank you, Doug. Thank you, everyone.